Welcome back to Clark's Ring Rants. Let's get straight into today's video. So, Deontay Wilder claims a 12-round split decision victory over Derek Chisora in a sloppy, wild, heavyweight slugfest. Let's talk about it. Going into this fight, I said I thought Derek Chisora would win on points. I said that in my prediction video. And my logic for that was Derek Chisora is a pressure fighter. Deontay Wilder doesn't necessarily deal with being backed up very well. And I just assumed that Derek Chisora would have enough in the tank to wear Deontay Wilder down, to lean on him, to make it an ugly, sloppy, messy fight. And he would just work him away on the inside and just labour to a 12-round decision. I also took into account that Deontay Wilder's recent form has been shocking, really. He was knocked out by Zhilei Zhang. He was beat comprehensively by Joseph Parker. He barely threw any punches in either of those fights. Prior to that, he's been stopped by Tyson Fury. He took a beating in both of those fights. And he had a gimmick fight against Terrell Herndon, whereas Chisora's been in there with Joe Joyce, he's been in there with Otto Wallin, and he's managed to beat both men. I just thought maybe at this stage of the game, Derek Chisora's got a little bit more left than Deontay Wilder. He's got a little bit more ambition and he'd be able to get the job done. However, I was wrong and Deontay Wilder managed to windmill and swing his way to a 12-round split decision over Derek Chisora. I must say, for two guys in the 40s with so many miles on the clock, the fight was fought at a hellacious pace. Derek Chisora came out in the first round swinging for the fences, trying to take Wilder's head off. Wilder managed to weather the storm and sort of grew into the fight, I want to say. Chisora was knackered by about round 5. He was panting like a dog. He could barely get his breath. He was leaning on the ropes a lot. And Wilder started to have a bit more success. He was tagging Chisora here and there. But I would have liked to have seen Deontay Wilder be a bit more active in this fight, throw a few more punches. Don't get me wrong, he threw more punches than he did in the Zhang and the Parker fight. Well, he couldn't have thrown any less, to be fair. But yeah, maybe doubling up that jab, a few more right hands. But he just seems to have issues pulling the trigger now, Wilder, and that could be down to a multitude of reasons. It could be the speed's gone, his timing's definitely off. He missed a few right hands and a few uppercuts in there that would have splattered Derek Chisora a couple of years ago. But either way, I think he did enough to win anyway. He scored a knockdown, I think that was round 8, but he ultimately lost a point in that round as well. And can we just talk about some of the crazy officiating going on in this fight? So there was a moment, I can't remember what round it was, but both guys sort of fell over the ropes and they continued hitting each other. And a member of Team Chisora bolted into the ring and separated them. Now, as far as I'm aware, my interpretation of the law is that that can result in an immediate disqualification. However, there were no repercussions for Derek Chisora and his team, and that seemed to set the tone for the fight. The referee never looked as though he was in control of what was happening in there. There was another time Chisora went down, he was pushed through the ropes. A member of Team Chisora pushed him to help him get back up. Again, that's an illegal move, you're not allowed to do that, and that also went unpunished. So not a great night for the ref, but a really entertaining night for the fans here in this slugfest. It was two guys, neither of them are elite, neither of them are top 10 or anything, but it was two guys on a pretty even playing field coming towards the end of their careers, and they put on a decent little scrap. It was sloppy at times, but what do you expect when Derek Chisora and Deontay Wilder come together? Wilder has never been the most polished boxer in the world, and we all know what Chisora's tactics are. They're to get in there, he wants to rough you up, he wants to try and get on the inside and bully you. So it was a fight we could have expected. A lot of people were saying this fight could go early, there could be an early knockout. I said, nah, no chance. Chisora, who has Chisora ever gone through and stopped early? And Wilder at this stage of the game, they say your power's the last thing to go, but I don't know. The power doesn't seem to be there. He's not as prolific with the right hand. So I always felt as though this fight was going to go late, and it did. Round 8 was probably the best round of the fight. Wilder knocked down Chisora, but then Chisora came back and visibly hurt Wilder. Wilder was hurt on a number of occasions in there tonight, but it was a lot tougher and a lot more resilient than I thought he'd be. He didn't show much toughness, ambition, or resilience in the Parker or the Zhang fights, but here tonight, he seemed to summon a little bit of that old warrior spirit he's got there. And he took some big shots clean on the chin. He's always had a decent chin and he's been very, very brave, Wilder. That's one thing I will say about him. Yes, I've got my criticisms of him, but he's a tough game fighter, and he showed that in there tonight. I also believe Wilder could have scored a stoppage in there. It was the 8th round. Chisora was stumbling back over to the ropes, looking drunk and wobbly, and Wilder could have followed up and just nailed him with a right hand, but he appeared to say something to Chisora in there. He said, "I love you, bro," and then he sort of just took his foot off the gas, which I found a bit weird. I feel like he could have got the fight over and done with there. If we cast our minds back to when he fought Bermane Stiverne in the second fight, a similar thing happened. He had him backed up in the ropes, and he absolutely flew across the ring at him, unleashed a vile, vicious barrage of punches on him, and splattered Stiverne all over the canvas. But he didn't seem to want to do that here. And then in the post-fight interview, he went on some big random waffle monologue about how he could have hurt Derek Chisora. He could have stopped him if he really wanted to, but he wanted to spare him. He wanted to show mercy. So I suppose that supports the belief that Wilder's not fully got the eye of the tiger anymore. He's not still looking to catch a body like he stated he was several years ago. But either way, he did enough to win this fight in my eyes. He was the rightful winner. It was a bit of a messy fight. It was a bit difficult to score, but I definitely think he did more than enough to win. As for Chisora, what should he do next? I think pack it in, call it a day. He's starting to sound a bit punch drunk. He's slurring his words. I mean, he got his undisputed Five Guys World Championship belt, so that's something to take away from tonight. But you could see his wife in the ring after the fight. She was saying, "No more, no more. I don't want you to fight again." Chisora was like, "Yeah, we'll see about that. I want another fight." But no, I don't think Chisora should fight again. All they're going to do now, they're going to feed him to Moses Itauma. He's going to be a sacrificial lamb for the next stage of his career or any upcoming fighters. I'm not really sure who he could be. He's a pressure fighter. He relies on stamina, durability, punch resistance, punch output, and that's dropping and dropping and dropping. It has been dropping for a few years. You can see there's some rounds that Chisora has to take off because he's knackered, and he can ill afford to do that against the younger, fresher, better heavyweights, because say he did want to continue, there's going to be much sterner tests than Deontay Wilder. So I think if you're Chisora, I know as hard as it is for a character like him, but he needs people around him advising him, and call it a day. He's made enough money. Spend some time with your kids, your wife. There's no need for you to keep fighting on. As for Wilder, there's only one fight left for him, in my opinion. That's Anthony Joshua. I don't see him beating anyone else. I don't really see him posing much of a threat to anyone else. Just fight Joshua. That fight should have happened years ago. It'd be a faded version of both fighters, but better late than never, I suppose. A bit like Amir Khan versus Kell Brook. They had a bit of back and forth after the fight. Deontay Wilder sort of confronted Anthony Joshua. He said, "Let's go, let's make the fight." I see no reason why that fight can't happen next. Who would I make a favourite in that fight? I mean, I think I'd have to make Joshua a favourite, but what's Joshua got left? We don't really know. But if I was Deontay Wilder, that's the fight I'd be targeting. I don't really have any interest in seeing him take on anyone else. I think he'd be food for most of the top elite heavyweights at this stage. So fight Joshua. Why not? Or maybe he'd fight Dillian Whyte. You never know. That fight never happened when it should have. Maybe that's an option. But yeah, we had a really funny little slugfest here tonight. Two fighters that were both past it, but they came together. They swung it out. They left it all in the ring. And it was a good fight, I suppose. They left it all in the ring. Some back and forths in there. Both men were hurt, but ultimately Deontay Wilder managed to do enough to get the victory, and he moves on. But what do you think? What should both men do next? Was Wilder the deserved winner? Could you stake a claim for Chisora? Or was it a draw? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, share, subscribe if you're new. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.